All right, let's talk about the magnetic lasso. So we're going to do a file new 8x10 150 resolution. I am just going to get rid of my extras so you don't need to see them. Command O to open. I'm going to go into my birds composite folder and grab the red bird. And then a Command A, Command C, Command W, Command V to get my red bird up on the screen. And then I'll just do a Command plus to get a little closer. All right, so we've talked about the lasso, we've talked about the polygonal lasso, last but not least, the magnetic. Now the magnetic, what it's doing is it's assuming what you want to select. So for example, with this very red bird against a green background, it will work well. We're going to use better selection tools down the road, but for now, I want you to notice that we can just kind of click on the bird's tail, and then we can slowly click and drag and click and drag and click and drag. And as I move my mouse and click and drag around the edges of this bird, the computer is sort of deciding that I want to hang on to these sort of orangey and red colored pixels and not the green. And so it's sort of assuming where I want to go with my selection. The magnetic lasso isn't necessarily always accurate, but it's a good way to get started. If I want to really drag my line, I can, and it'll click on it itself, but I'm also taking that risk that my magnet will get a little twisted up, which I will show you in a second. When I get back to where I started, I just match it up, and then I get my marching ants. So again, Command C to copy, Command V to paste. If I grab my move tool, I can move that selection out of the way. So let me show you a little bit of other stuff. So if I go back to layer 1, if I go back to the magnet and I start to click, sometimes if I click too fast, your magnet will get stuck on top of itself and it becomes a hot mess. If it becomes a hot mess, you can just kind of do a double click and then a Command D to deselect. So again, if you're making your magnet and your magnet gets out of control, which happens, just do a double click and then a Command D to deselect. As you start your magnet, remember you want to click and drag and click and drag and click and drag, round and round. I always like to do lots of clicks so that I'm picking the anchor spot versus the computer sort of making that decision. And then you match it up, and there it is. So Command C, Command V, and that's the magnet. I don't really love the magnet because I feel like it gets twisted up often, but it's an option. So just remember you have your lasso, which you can control, your polygon with those straighter edges, and then the magnet, which will stick to things that it thinks are the same color. We'll get into other tools, but I want to make sure that you see that these exist and understand how to use them. And that's the magnet.